I am quite tired after a day and a half shooting, so I'm enjoying myself immensely, and it's good fun. And what's really interesting is being at the kind of cutting edge of digital production. It's just awesome.
We spent a few weeks trying to figure out how to use virtual production for this project. With new technology, it's always a level of research, development, and trial. And the good thing is, the only thing we've able to reference is The Mandalorian, but that's Disney. So for this, we tested the screens, we tested the CGI element, and today I can safely say it's actually going really, really well.
So the big idea about what we're doing, we had the opportunity to work with the equipment here for 3 days, and I said to the team, let's actually make a short movie. Let's make something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, rather than just doing a test piece or whatever it might be, which are very valuable. Let's actually try and put it into production.
Within the history of Rebellion, we have 130 years of storytelling history, British comic book history, British fiction history that we're responsible for, and we're in a very enviable position right now of being able to look at some of the incredible fantasy, science fiction, and grounded reality stories and find new ways of telling those in film, TV, and in other formats. And so that's why being here today and seeing the virtual production that we're doing is thrilling, because suddenly, even from where we were 12 months ago, the opportunities for the kind of stories that we can tell and how we can tell them are just expanding all the time.
The VFX team would be working very closely with the directors and the DOP on set, and a lot of stuff can be decided on set as we can doing our VFX background live changing by using real-time game technology. A lot of stuff you would do in post, but you could do it right now on the set.
Yeah, the cool thing about virtual production is the main work in order to get a successful shoot is in the prep. So we spent weeks preparing. We did previs in Unreal Engine, we did storyboards, we created CG environments. All of that prep doesn't go to waste. Like traditionally, you do a bunch of storyboards, a bunch of previs, and then you go and shoot it, and a lot of that doesn't get used. The cool thing about virtual production is you're in the Unreal Engine scene, you're building the environments, and at the same time, I'm blocking out my shots. I'm trying things out virtually, which means that today I'm on set, I'm pretty much doing what I prepped, and more. For example, we can block the shot as a wide shot, but then I can go in and find additional shots because I'm not constrained with daylight, I'm not constrained with time. We could do things in the environment with a click of a button and just move things around.
So the way the production has unfolded has been really amazing, actually. I think the guys have probably, say, 2 weeks notice to put together the script environments, break it down, create the sort of shot list and so on, and then ready to go on set and build it. The guys that built the environments were out around the site collecting branches and all the items we need for the foreground, so the physical set, which one of our USPs, I think, is having the VFX company, so Rebellion VFX, based on site in the studio. So the guys actually working on environments and the pre-production can also be involved in the actual shoot itself and contribute to how we shoot it and how we set it up. So those things like that, I think, going forward, will be a massive bonus to us.
So the idea was to challenge the VFX team. They basically had 2 weeks to do something which really probably should have taken them 2 months at least. And they've risen to the challenge. They've created this heightened reality, mystical, magical forest. And later on, a massive, strange cathedral. So it's got to be heightened. It's got to be true to the mythology, but also true to life as well. And I really wanted to get an epic scale for parts of it as well, just to challenge the team and challenge the production to kind of really push the boat out.
So what has been forced here is heightening reality. Right, well, we can make it real, brilliant. What can we do beyond that? How can we force that forward? And so that's what's really exciting right now, is seeing how you can use this kind of virtual production technology to expand the amount of the type of story that you tell and the grounded realism you can bring to something that is fantastical.
So today we have the sort of middle of the short film, which is where I, as the Arthurian knight, kind of come to a realization and a crossroads in his life. And so there's quite a lot of camera tracking, and there's a lot of movement, and there's a little bit of kinetic stuff. You just saw me, I've just done a whole bunch of sword stuff and trying to do it authentically with authentic moves and look good on camera is always an interesting challenge. I'm very interested in authenticity, and even though we're making a fantasy movie, I want the sword to go with the armor, and I'd like the knight to look like he knows what he's doing when he's fighting.
Because it's a new modern technology, we push in our envelope a lot and to see whether what we can use this technology, not only for this shoot, but using this shoot as a benchmark to push that technology further for the next ones. Essentially, we are trying to push the not trying to break it, but we cleverly, I think, to push the boundary towards the boundary. It's like the fine line between, oh, this is completely broken, but it is before you cross that line, basically.
I think on green screen there is this it's easy to fall into the trap of going, we'll do it later. So you can just sort of light a person, light the green screen, and go, it's fine. And it's a kind of horrible way to work at times, even for actors. I think, they're in this green screen environment and you have to say, okay, you're up a beanstalk and there's a giant or whatever. And it's all, it's so fake. And with this, you can just sort of react to things. You can see that's what it's going to look like, and that's where the thing is. And everybody look at the wizard on the horizon, whatever it is, and you can see it. And everyone's looking at the same thing, they have the same light. So there's just a real sort of clarity to what you're doing. And you can walk over to the monitors, play it back, and you can see a finished image, which is incredible.
We've done a lot of immersive content. We come from live entertainment. So there's a really nice synergy of both worlds in terms of what it can do and how we can use various techniques that usually were destined to only be for VFX or gaming or other sorts of things, and actually introduce them first as elements of a performative art, and then now fully integrated into what is virtual production.
We're at this exciting nexus, and we've reached this point where game technology, with game engines driving virtual production, motion capture technology feeding into that, Rebellion's storytelling history and vast catalogue of stories, and kind of the desire to expand the amount of film and TV content there is in the world, and how many channels and platforms and appetite there are for that. All of these things have come together in this moment to give us this really exciting kind of prospect that kind of anything is possible right now, both technologically in where Rebellion sits as a tech company, and storytelling wise, and what audiences are excited to read and see.
I think with the way virtual production's going at the moment, especially what we've been shooting today over at Rebellion Studios, we're at a point now where this could become the norm of way of shooting, the normal way of shooting. It could be setting precedents, which means that we don't have to worry about traveling to expensive locations and worry about logistics and travel and safety. We can do a lot of that within the confinement of our space.
Exactly, yeah, I think speed's a huge thing. And it's speed, but it's also knowing you have the ability to shoot. Because again, if we're doing a nighttime wood forest, maybe we start the scene at midnight and we shoot till 2 in the morning, get some really great stuff, and then it starts raining. And suddenly we can't shoot, it doesn't match. Do we reshoot what we'd done for the first 2 hours? Do we call it a night, go home, come back the next day? The sun starts to come up in the morning, it's 6 a.m, suddenly it doesn't look the same. With this, you're in control of everything. So it's a dark wood, nothing's gonna change. It's not gonna rain, the sun's not gonna come up, and we can just shoot and shoot and shoot. So yeah, it's great for just knowing what you have. You're not relying on anything else.
But what we can do is do things that will traditionally take 10 days. We're able to get that down to 3 days because we don't have logistics to worry about and travel time and so on. I think also the other thing is, the more and more this becomes the way of shooting, the more ways we're going to find of how to kind of really utilize virtual productions. At the moment, I think we're still scratching the surface. I mean, today what we're doing is something very ambitious. We're shooting pretty low-level lighting sequences, and you can, as you know, you look at a lot of the demos out there, beautiful demos, and they're all completely brightly lit. And there's a reason for that, because of tracking and so on. Here at Rebellion Studios, we decided to really push that envelope, and Jason Kingsley, our CEO, was very insistent on pushing that envelope. Yes, It's very painful at times because we have to like retrack. But the beautiful thing is, once you've solved it for future productions. And that's all part of the whole virtual production and R&D.
Well, what's really interesting being on set is you don't really see what the camera's capturing until you have a look at the playback. And then you go and have a look at playback and you think, oh, actually, that's pretty good. So far, so good. I mean, at the end of the day, we won't know until we've got sound effects and music and editing is all in there. So there's a long way to go. But if what we're seeing is the bare minimum, I think we've got something that'll be really exciting and interesting. And also, we've pushed the technology, pushed it forwards. The whole idea of wearing shiny armor was to push the reflections in the technology, because unlike green screen, that's what this virtual production can actually do. We can get reflections. So why not go for shiny medieval armor?
What I think the industry is only beginning to get to grips with is just what virtual production and capture volumes like this can offer. How do you tell a story? What do you tell a story? It's not about limiting to, oh, well, you can only tell stories like this, because we'll still go on set, we'll still go on location, we'll still do large builds, but this just adds another tool, an incredibly powerful tool to the craft of storytelling. So it's going to be really exciting to see how this liberates us to be a bit more socially distant, to do other things, and at the same time be incredibly controlled. And we've been shooting Moonlight for about 48 hours now, and it's been stunning and beautiful outside.
Giving the actors a space where they can play and really become part of that world, because as we all know, being a character isn't just about being a character in your head, but it's also how do you work within your environment. And for our actor to be able to react to an environment, get the actual lighting from the environment, like we're going to do a time-lapse shot after this interview, and that time-lapse is going to react on the actor's shiny armor and helmet, but we're also going to see the reflection in the eye. Now that is something traditionally you would have to do a combination of very expensive lighting, extremely hot because all the lights you need, but also it becomes very expensive in visual effects. So the big thing for us on this is doing a shoot where there is very minimal visual effects. This shoot, if we weren't doing virtual production, would be green screen. Or the alternative would go shoot it in the forest, and it's raining today, so that would not have worked.
I think the main thing is it's basically deciding when to use the volume or the virtual production screen, knowing when to use it as a background and knowing when to use it as a light source. They're the two kind of clear different things. There's the screen you're looking at, but there's also the screen you're not looking at, and they're completely different worlds. So you're looking at a background, that background has to look correct, but you've also got all the rest of the screen that's not in shot. And suddenly you can use that as a light source. So you can boost it up to 200%. You can, on this thing, I've just got a big, like a moonlight spot, and I can just put that wherever I want. And suddenly I've got a spot that acts as a moonlight, and I can just move that around. So that's what's great, is I think figuring out that you can use the screens for interactive lighting, and you can do all kinds of effects off camera that cast some really beautiful light on the actors.
It's more about how do you introduce, and once again, it's very parallel to when we started doing VR, And at first it was just the gimmick of doing something in VR, and slowly we've actually created stories that people feel true empathy, that there is that relationship between you and what's happening in your world. We've evolved to that point in which the story is now king, is not the technology. And I think that's what's going to happen here. The evolution of this is when you don't know what's shot in VP, what's shot in real, and actually you don't care, because what you're really caring about is the final story that we're trying to tell. We're going for the humanity within technology.